Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our first Facebook Live of lockdown. My name is Guy Deeming. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the specialist orthodontists at Queensway. I'm just going to do a little sound check and make sure that I can be heard. So I'm going to ask one of my colleagues just to let me know. Cool. Right. Now, welcome. I can see a few people coming on already. That's great. We'll give people a few more moments. I have got some pre-prepared questions, actually, which have been submitted before the event, which is very exciting. So well done. And thank you to those of you that have sent us questions through. I'm aware that it is quite a nice sunny day, and therefore quite a few people may be out in the sunshine from a socially distant, nice and safe perspective, enjoying themselves. So we will record this and we'll make this available after the event. So the purpose of today is dead simple. What we wanted to do was to give existing patients the opportunity to ask questions, but also allow me on behalf of Queensway Ortho to provide information that's relevant to existing patients who've already having treatment with us. So there's clearly a lot going on at the moment, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to give you all of the answers this afternoon, but I hope to be able to offer some reassurance that we maybe have a little bit of a way forward and know a little bit more about what life might be like when we actually get to open the practice back up. But first things first, as I've said already, I hope everybody out there is keeping well, particularly patients who we know and we miss very much, actually, from the old world before lockdown, when we had our kind of busy, bustly clinic and everything was, everything felt normal. It's been a very, very sort of challenging few months, shall we say, and I think we all feel this, whatever situations we're in with our families, with work. I know some of you may well have been affected by coronavirus directly, and on a very personal point of view, my heart goes out to those of you that have been affected and may have lost loved ones. It can't be underestimated the impact that this is going to have on all of our lives, and for those that have lost those nearest to them, more than any. So, from all of the team at Queensway, please accept our condolences if you have been directly affected. What I'm going to do, though, is if it's okay, I'm going to start going through the little list of questions that have been submitted in advance. If any other questions pop up, then we can deal with those as we go. I'm expecting that we're going to be around about 25 to 30 minutes of going through some stuff. So, in no particular order, the first question is perhaps the most obvious one, which is, when are we going to reopen? Well, I'm going to have a sip of tea before we go for this one because it's important. Because the short answer is, I don't know. Now, if you read the papers, they will say that dentists have never been told to close, and that is partially true. The chief dental officer is responsible for dentistry in the UK, particularly NHS dentistry. And when lockdown was announced, effectively said that routine dentistry, including orthodontics, should stop. And that situation has not changed, actually. But nevertheless, urgent dental clinics for the management of people in extreme pain with infections and so on and so forth have existed, but they're not directly for patients having orthodontic treatment, whether that's NHS or privately, unless they fall into one or two very, very narrow categories. Moving forwards, obviously the Prime Minister set out some sort of timeline around easing lockdown nearly 3 weeks ago now. I'm sorry, my computer's beeping. I'm just going to turn off WhatsApp because lots of people are... There we are, good. But it doesn't specifically include dentistry. So what I think we're going to see is at some point in the next couple of weeks, some form of announcement indicating when we may be able to open. We can speculate and we can guess, but it's not going to be next week. And I sincerely hope it's not after the summer. It's going to be somewhere in between. Perhaps the biggest challenge that we face is that it is unlikely we will be able to return to doing a full range of treatments. So in those initial days, weeks, even months, it may be that we are really limited in terms of what we can do. And what does that mean in practical terms within orthodontics? It might mean, for example, that if you are a patient waiting to have your braces taken off, the procedures involved with taking the braces off can't be done until, say, phase 2. If you're in pain or discomfort, then of course, we will be incredibly pleased to see you and get you sorted out in phase 1. We don't have details. We don't know, but it is looking like it will be a phased approach to reopening, which I guess in the context of coronavirus and the risks that we know of is a sensible approach. But I think in the early days, I think we expected that it would just be, oh, the lights back on and back we go to normal. That is absolutely not going to be the case. The other thing that I can say with certainty when we reopen is that it will feel quite different initially. So instead of the kind of bustly waiting room and people going to reception and so on and so forth, because of the very sensible requirements for social distancing to reduce the risk for all of our patients, their families, and all of our team as well, we're going to be changing quite significantly how people flow through the practice. In other words, how they wait for an appointment, how they come into the appointment, and how they leave again. Some of you may well have seen some of this online already, or be aware of this. You'll kind of see the stuff that's going to be going on in shops and supermarkets and so on and so forth. Dentistry is going to be no different. So we'll be making announcements about this just as soon as we've got guidance from the NHS and other related organizations about the specifics of what we're going to be doing, but just really to kind of give you forewarning that it's going to feel a little bit different. It'll still be the same people, and we're still going to do the same things we need to do to get you all looked after and get some great outcomes, but the process is going to not quite be what we're used to. Now, my view is that actually we can use this to actually improve the way we look after people. We can see this as an opportunity to move some of our appointments online. And that's one of the things that's been really exciting about this. And I know it's been difficult and stressful, but actually what we've realized is that quite a lot of what we've done, we could actually do online using some of the virtual consultation platforms and some of the software that's available. And that does bring me neatly on to one of the other questions that's come in. It's Beth, I think, has said, I've got an appointment at the early part of June. Will that go ahead? Well, Beth, it will not go ahead. It's very unlikely we're going to be open by the 8th of June. But what we are doing, and we have been doing for all of our patients in treatment with braces on, that's NHS and private, we've been offering what's called a digital review appointment. And if you have not had a digital review appointment, we would very much like you to have one. Because what this allows us to do is to set up a video call with you to check on the health of your teeth and the health of your braces, and to give you some advice and some reassurance as to what's happening, and to allow us to identify any problems that may be occurring so that we can put a plan in place just as soon as possible to remedy that. The process is very simple. We will send you a link to a web form where you will fill in some basic information about who you are and whatnot. You'll then be asked to upload some photographs of your teeth, and you can, there's some instructions there, using some spoons to kind of hold your lips back, or even if you've got the, I can never remember what the game's called, but you know the game where you have the kind of the little plastic things for the photographs and where it kind of does the splat thing. If you've got one of those sitting at home, you can use the retractors to take some really nice photographs. Anyway, once we've got the photographs, we'll then schedule an appointment for you to have a conversation with either an orthodontist or one of the therapists to go through those things. So Beth, if you have not already, you will be being contacted to make a digital review appointment, and we would really encourage you to do so. And then we will, as soon as possible, get back to seeing you for your routine face-to-face appointments. Speak out, there we go. Thank you, Carrie. Speak out, that's the one. Well done. If you are an Invisalign patient, then you should be on the dental monitoring system, which is fantastic because actually it allows, to a greater or lesser degree, service as normal to carry on for you. And I know that the dental monitoring team have been working really, really hard under my kind of guidance to make sure that we're communicating with you and getting updates and managing your passage through your treatment. So dental monitoring, Invisalign, fantastic, made for lockdown. Fixed braces, digital reviews. If you've been invited to take part in one, please do, because that is a really, really useful check-in with you, so you can ask all your questions, we can check you're all good, and we can start to understand the volume and the nature of the treatments that we're going to need to do when we go out of lockdown. Okay, digital reviews. Any problems, any questions, you can obviously put a note on Facebook, send us a DM. You can email braces@queensway.co.uk. But if you're here, you know how to find us. So I'm preaching to the converted. Okay. So let me go on to my next question. Oh, a question, right. Anita, when you talk about brace removal being likely to happen in phase 2, does that include both fixed appliances and Invisalign? Yeah. So the short answer is, and I make no apologies really, it's an informed guess. But if the use of the handpiece, the polisher that we need to remove the glue, is deemed to be something that we should only be doing in phase 2, then that would impact on Invisalign and fixed appliance treatments. Now, there are some compromises. So, for example, we could simply ask Invisalign patients to stop wearing their aligners during the day once they finish and just wear them at night. But we will, if that situation where we use the polisher is delayed, then we would not be able to remove the attachments until that time. Similarly, with a fixed brace, we've got the same challenge in terms of removing the glue and so on and so forth. As soon as we know, we will be mapping this out and we'll be communicating and we'll be starting to get people booked in. We are desperate, in as much as our patients are, to start to move forwards with this. So I hope you can understand. And I suppose at this point, actually, the one thing I would say is that we've had a lot of contact with patients over the last 8 to 10 weeks through telephone calls, email, and through the digital reviews. And a very, very personal note from me, but also on behalf of the team, you've all been amazing, amazing. You've been incredibly understanding. There's been widespread recognition that this is nobody's fault and that we're all in this together and that everybody's trying our best. And we're trying our best. And actually, as our patients, you know, I could not ask more of you for doing your best and being more understanding and as kind and generous as you've been to the team, actually. And we've had some really, really lovely conversations, which have been really, really kind of affirming, actually. So thank you for that, and please carry on. Please don't change, because we appreciate it. Okay, my next question. What have we got? Do I need the final consultation, and do I need to wear my retainers every night? Okay, so this is about retainers and what happens after treatment and retainer reviews. Now, we always like to check in with patients once they've had their braces taken off to make sure they're managing okay with their retainers, to make sure they know what they're doing, and to answer any questions or any problems that may be going on. That does not change. But one of the things that we are now starting to do, just as we've done with patients with braces stuck to their teeth, we're now starting to work through all of those patients that are due to have retainer reviews. And in fact, I know that about 50 reminders have gone out only today to patients to say, have a digital review for your retainers. So Kathy, yes, you should certainly be having that final consultation, because that's your opportunity to ask us any questions and our opportunity to check everything's still okay and to kind of sign that off. The good thing is, unless there is something where we need to, I don't know, take a new scan or whatever it might be, we're going to be able to do that online with one of our virtual consultations. So if you haven't been contacted already, you are more than welcome to send us a DM, email us, or pick up the phone, and the guys will be more than happy to arrange that for you with a digital review. But yeah, absolutely right. So we are not seeing lockdown as a kind of or COVID as a way of kind of rationalizing what we're doing. We're still going to be doing the same things and providing the same level of care, but we may be changing the way we do it a little bit. So it's less face-to-face, more online, which is really cool. I mean, we should be doing that, right? It's 2020. I'm sort of embarrassed that it's taken us this long to realize, but I think out of this, we're going to try and get something really positive that's going to be more convenient. It's going to be easier for patients to access, and it's going to allow us actually a little bit more time to have a nice conversation with people rather than be in the kind of slightly rushed clinic and so on and so forth. So it's all good from that point of view. Yeah, so Kathy, the same message twice, so that's fine. Will I get my braces tightened at my appointment book for the end of this June? So the end of June, I guess, is coming into that zone when we may start to see some patients again. I don't know, but it might be. My feeling is that in that first phase, I would view patients that have had braces on their teeth that have not been seen for a significant period of time as reasonable and justified to see in phase 1, pending any specific advice that says we can't do that. So in other words, if you've got braces on and haven't been seen for 10, 12, 14 weeks, whatever it might be, we know, and you know, that we really need to try and see you, particularly if you haven't had a digital review. So the short answer is that I think those with braces on their teeth that require adjustment, we will be doing our very, very best to get those people looked at in phase 1, because the nature of that procedure is actually in the context of all the kind of instruments and so on and so forth, is very, very low risk in terms of generating sprays and this kind of stuff, which need a little bit more cleaning down. So I hope that answers that question. It's a bit of a case of watch this space. And if you don't already, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, do all the stuff, because that's where you're going to find all the bang up to date information. If you're not on our email mailing list, again, send us a direct message. You can put a comment on here and we'll add you to the mailing list, because we're sending out 1 to 2 weekly updates, including little videos from me, which are telling you exactly what's happening. So keep in touch, keep in touch. It's really, really important that you do that. Okay. Oliver, right. When can I start the whitening process and then finally get my composite? Yeah. This kind of question tells me so much, because I know that there's frustration out there. I know that people are so desperate, especially those people that are so close to finishing. You just want to finish, right? You just want to get the stuff done and get finished. We all know the truth, don't we? We're all a bit stuck at the moment. We all want the same thing though. So we'll be on top of that stuff as soon as we can. So for example, tooth whitening. Now, tooth whitening is a low risk procedure in a sense. There's no spray, there's no, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's probably fair to say it's not a priority procedure. So we need to look at those quite carefully to see where they fit into that phasing. And it may be that it's something that we can manage remotely. And as we go through that initial unlocking, we can then start to look at some of those patients that are able to start some of those processes off and get them set up remotely. And if that's possible, we'll be reaching out to you, or you can reach out to us to ask a little bit more about that. But in terms of getting composite bonding done, which I think is what you're referring to, Oliver, that is something from a restorative dental point of view. So it's not orthodontics, it's what the restorative dentists do in the other building at Queensway or with your family dentist. That is likely to be something that is quite a long way down the road, because that would be deemed to be a cosmetic dental procedure and does involve water sprays and so on and so forth. So if I was going to give you very sort of straightforward advice, I'd suggest that, be patient, because it might be a little while yet, I'm afraid. But don't worry. I mean, that is not in any way to say that it won't happen. It's just a case of being patient. And I think the comfort I will give you all is that when this is all said and done, and in a year or 2 or 5 or 10 years time, you'll get the results and you'll get the outcome. And that's what you'll remember. And you might look back and say, God, I had my braces on during lockdown, it was this, but actually look at them now, it's fantastic. Or look at I've done the whitening, I've done the bonding, fantastic. It's just something that we all have to kind of, it's the wave that we have to surf for the next period of time. And we will get you through, and we will manage, and we will make sure that everybody gets what they need. But I know that people understand that you can't suddenly see everybody on day one, and we will have to be coming up with some sensible plans to do that. There's only so many hours in the day. And that the other thing is that we may have slightly limited hours because of the nature of the cleaning we need to do over and above what we normally do. And again, we're waiting guidance on exactly that. I think there is lots of speculation on the dental kind of Facebook forums and so on and so forth about what that might look like. But there is going to be some evidence-based guidance coming out really very, very soon, which is going to allow us to understand that and set ourselves up for that. That does bring me very, very neatly to another point I was really keen to make this afternoon. And this is really the bigger picture about what we are going to be doing and what we are doing to keep people safe. Because whilst composite bonding and tooth whitening is awesome, right here, right now, the only thing that matters above all others is to keep people safe and to keep people healthy, and to follow all of that government guidance about staying alert and staying safe and socially distancing. And if we take ourselves back 12 to 14 weeks when this first started, was it that long? I can't even remember. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? It's so hard to remember. I don't even know what day it is half the time, but it's amazing how quickly the days go. But if we take ourselves back, I remember in those very, very kind of stressful, emotionally charged days when we were leading up to lockdown, a lot of anxiety about, well, how are we going to make this work and how are we going to do this? And actually the only thing that I could refer back to was what is the right thing to do to keep people safe? And that actually led us to the point of saying, we need to stop. We just have to stop, because if we don't stop, then we're putting the interests of sticking braces on above the interests of people. And actually, whether we like it or not, we straighten teeth, but we straighten teeth in people, and people are the most important thing. And that still applies. That still applies when we come to unlocking, is that we will only do so when we are told it's safe. We will only do so when we know it to be as safe as it can possibly be. And we're working really hard already designing what's called standard operating procedures that will allow us to put process and protocol and change the building in such a way to minimize that risk for all of the team, for all of you, for all of your families, and for the wider community, because we know that there is a responsibility that we have to take incredibly seriously. So we'll be investing in all of that stuff. We'll be going for the very, very best that we can do in terms of how we look after you, how we protect you, and how we protect each other. And that does have an impact on how the practice feels, and it does have an impact on what we do and when. But I think, and I hope, that you would not want us to have it any other way. Okay. So that said, let me just have a little look and see what other questions we've got. Will we be contacted as soon as you know when you're good to go? I was due an appointment the day after you closed. Oh, Carrie, that's heartbreaking, isn't it? And it's so awful. It's like, you know, you wait in this big long queue and then the shutter comes down. I feel for you. I feel for you. The short answer is there's a lot of patients in the system. And what you might not know, certainly if you're a Billingham patient, and this is quite exciting, this is like a stop press thing, is that over the last year or two, we've been really, really busy, and we actually were successful in winning some new contracts to deliver some new NHS services. So we were incredibly excited that we were supposed to be opening three new practices on the 1st of April in Bishop Auckland, in Consett, and in Darlington. Now those practices are there and they're beautiful, but nobody's been in them, which is really heartbreaking. But what it does mean is that we have actually, there's another group of patients that have come across with those NHS contracts. There's a lot of patients in the system, and we're going to be working through all of that systematically. And we've had some quite serious and quite involved discussions about how we prioritize that. And that is difficult, and it's not easy. And I'm afraid some people will potentially be a bit frustrated and a bit disappointed that they maybe have to wait a little bit longer, but we can't phone everybody on day one. But we will be going through a process as soon as we've got the green light to start to phase and book people in an order. So for example, in your situation, Carrie, if you were one of the first patients to be cancelled, we have already had a conversation about the first people to be cancelled will be one of the first people that will look to be getting booked back in, because if you do the mathematics, you're probably one of the people that's longest overdue. Does that make sense? So hopefully that answers that question. Just trying to see if there was a few questions. That's nice. That's really good. But what else did I want to talk about? So I've talked about keeping everybody safe. Yeah, one more thing, a couple more things. So we have been quite busy on lockdown, and I'm going to just see if I can do something whilst I'm on Facebook Live, because I want to show you something which is really cool. So one of the things that we had in our minds to do for a little while was to build an online shop. Now, I should be able to share screen, but I can't. Damn it. That's annoying, isn't it? Never mind. So we've built an online shop. And if you're in front of your computer, or if you take a little note, or we can send the link out, it's called bracebrushes.co.uk. And we had this in our minds for quite a long time. And the idea is really, really simple. We don't necessarily think patients want to come into the practice every time they want to buy a toothbrush. And also, we know that patients sometimes need, if they're an Invisalign patient, they need more chewies, or they might need some more elastic bands, and it's a pain. You have to phone us up, and sometimes the phones are busy, and then we've got to, you know, all that stuff. So what we've built is a shop that allows you to go online and you can just order whatever you need. Now, some of those things you pay for, like your toothbrushes and so on, but if you're an existing patient and you need more elastic bands, you can just order them. We'll check them against your record to make sure we're sending the right ones out, and we'll send them to you. And you can do that 24/7. And it's working incredibly well. So that's one of the things that we've actually managed to do during lockdown that was always on the table, but we never quite got around to it because time got in the way. So bracebrushes.co.uk has been amazing, and I would encourage you all to have a little look, and that's your place to go for all your supplies. In the context of COVID and coronavirus, the other thing it means, of course, is you don't need to go to reception, which means it's less risk. It means you don't need to come into the practice, which means it's less risk, which means you don't need cash, which means it's less risk, which is really, really cool. The other thing that you can do is if you've lost your retainer, and we're not quite ready to start remaking retainers in the way that we used to because the laboratory has a very, very limited service, and I'll touch back on that in just a moment, you can actually order a new retainer. So if we've got a scan, you can go online, you can order, and you can pay for a new retainer, and then we can print that off from your scan and we can send that out in the post for you. So again, amazingly convenient, and that's going to work really, really well in terms of giving patients what they need in a much more straightforward way. So it's like the Amazon of orthodontics, if you will, maybe. I'm not retiring just yet, don't worry. So bracebrushes.co.uk. I was going to say something else wrong. Retainers, yes. So 2 things about retainers. The first thing I've mentioned, which is our laboratory, who is the awesome team up at Ashford Orthodontics in Sunderland, who've looked after us all and looked after all of you incredibly well for the last 10 years. Those guys are shut, other than doing a very, very limited service. We are starting to remake some retainers, but only for those patients that have had scans very, very recently. If you have lost, broken, or have a problem with your retainer, contact us. Please contact us. Don't ignore it, because if your teeth move, it's a whole world of problems that we then need to try and sort out. So get in touch. If you go on our YouTube channel, just Google it, you'll find a video of me in my kitchen making a temporary retainer using a sports guard that I bought from Amazon. It's really good. You do need to make them quite carefully, so you can watch the video. It'll be 9 minutes of your life that you can't get back, but I do look like a bit of a wally, so hopefully you can at least laugh at me. But that is a good get out of jail card if you're really stuck. If you've got any questions about that, again, reach out to us. We are hopeful that our retainer service will increase quite soon, but we're not quite there yet. But don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Please don't ignore it. The final thing I'm going to finish on, it's 3 minutes to 4, is that we are very, very much looking forward to the future. And I am not going to come through this without taking lots of positives, because there's been lots and lots of suffering and lots of things people have had to give up and sacrifice over the last 8 to 12 weeks. And that's maybe not over, actually. But I'm determined that for the team and for Queensway, we come out of this with lots of positives and lots of changes and lots of learnings that we can improve things. And one of those is, as I've said a couple of times now, moving some of our services online, both because it's likely to be safer from a social distancing point of view, but also because it's going to be much more convenient. And in 2020, convenience, yeah, we like that. We like to be able to order something and it arrive the next day. We like to be able to kind of live chat or whatever it might be. Orthodontics should be no different. So we now have rolled out quite an advanced package of virtual consultations for private patients. And if you're interested, you can just visit the website, queenswayorthodontics.co.uk, and you'll see a big banner, and you can click on there and you can send us some photographs, and Leanne and I will then provide for you some advice and some information that will allow you to understand a little bit more about what orthodontic options might be appropriate for you. If you have any friends or family that may be interested, send them a link. Thank you from me in advance. From an NHS point of view, if you have friends or family or children that are being referred or will be referred for NHS treatment, we are piloting at the moment an NHS online consultation process as well with one of our specialist orthodontists. So whether you're a Bishop Auckland, Consett, Darlington or Billingham or Jesmond indeed, lots and lots of things happening. Lots of cool stuff in terms of meeting people online before we bring them into the building, because a lot of that information is just information we can give you in this kind of format. And we're really enjoying it, and patients seem to be really enjoying it, and we're having lots of really, really great conversations and lots of positive feedback on that. So do please share all of this stuff with your friends if you feel so inclined, or if you're having those kind of conversations about maybe others would like to get their teeth straightened and so on and so forth, because one way or the other we want to keep doing what we're doing, right? All this time on Zoom certainly focuses our minds on receding hairlines and all the rest of it. So there we go. I have to say, I think at the start of lockdown, I probably should have put a little pen line around my hair, so I could have see how much it's receded. But I've had my lockdown haircut, so maybe by the time you've seen me, I look less like I've just done 18 months of porridge. But yeah, there we go. My daughter did it, actually. So I managed to persuade my 8-year-old daughter to cut my hair. And if you look back on our Facebook feed, you can probably find a video that I think Joe and the marketing team posted a little while ago. Anyway, I'm just going to check there's no more questions, because I'm starting to chunter on a little bit. Thank you so much to those of you that have joined us for the last half an hour. I've quite enjoyed it. It's great. I get to have a conversation with myself. It's brilliant. Nobody can answer back. If there is interest, and if we feel that there's a need, I'm very, very happy to do this again. I think what we're going to try and do with Leanne and some of the other team members is do a little series of Facebook and Instagram lives, partly to kind of give people support and information like this, partly just to give people some educational stuff about what a retain is, what's Invisalign, what a fixed brace is. So keep an eye out for that kind of stuff if that's interesting, or if you've got friends or family that might be interested. And I suppose the final point is to reiterate all of the thanks that are due. And there's a lot of people to thank, actually. First and foremost, I've said it already, thank you to you, our patients, because you have genuinely been amazing. And it's been incredibly emotional, and it's been incredibly intense to share this with some of you. And we're not through it yet. We're in it together. We've got your backs, and we're here for you when you need us. So do not be shy about reaching out. Do not be shy, and we will do everything we can to look after you. And all I would ask is that you just keep being brilliant, because so far you've nailed it. I can't thank the team enough, and as they will tell you, I'm prone to a bit of an emotional wobble at the end of an intense meeting or two, and it's been emotional, and they've been fantastic, and they have been working incredibly hard above and beyond the call of duty. And I know that we've had some of our team are furloughed, and I've had conversations with the furloughed team, and they're doing incredibly well as well, and we're looking after those guys too, and we can't wait to get them back and get everybody working and kind of put the band back together, so to speak. So thank you to all of them. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, stay safe, stick to the rules, keep in touch. Facebook, Instagram, get yourselves on our email mailing list, pick up the phone, send us an email, visit the website. Couldn't be easier. In the meantime, I cannot wait to see you soon. Look after yourselves. Thank you for your time. We'll post this online. See you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.